everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.
And it's time once again
to recommend things.
Dan, I'm chomping at the bit to find out what you're recommending today.
Alright, well, I am recommending a novel this time. And this is a novel that I got relatively recently. I'm working my way through all of the new Star Wars EU canon novels. But this has been my favorite one so far. I've read Heir to the Jedi, Tarkin, and this. We're making my way through Aftermath right now. That's what I'm currently reading. But this is Lords of the Sith. This is by Paul S. Kemp. And this is a story about Darth Vader, the Emperor, and Hera from Star Wars Rebels, her dad, oddly enough. Those are like the main principal cast. And there's a new Twi'lek that Hera's dad is somewhat romantically involved with, who's an interesting character too. But the book is primarily about the ideology of the Empire and what kind of people it creates. And exploring in depth the relationship between Darth Vader and the Emperor. The basic plot of the book is that the Twi'lek homeworld is being occupied by the Empire, and Hera's dad is leading a resistance to try to get them off-world. And this takes place right after Revenge of the Sith, like not too long after, so this is early Empire stuff. And what they do is they manipulate this ambitious Imperial officer to lure the Emperor and Darth Vader to the Twi'lek system. They end up blowing up the Star Destroyer that the Emperor and Vader are on, and then Vader and the Emperor are trapped on the wilderness of the planet, and they have to try to survive. And it's just basically them trying to get back to the Imperials. All of the communications are knocked out, so it's this sort of dual survival story with these two characters.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like what the campaign for Battlefront should have been.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like what Rebels should be too.
Yeah,
because it's about this small rebel cell that's doing things with the Empire, and
I'm just imagining this. I'm just imagining this barren terrain with Vader and the Emperor going around having to fight things and going, look, a story that could have been Battlefront.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's just the parallels between the characters, especially the members of the Resistance fighters and the Emperor and Vader, is really interesting. Because the Empire and the way that it rules the galaxy doesn't allow people to have real intimate relationships, and the relationship of that Vader and the Emperor have is really twisted too. So there's parallels between the two of them, and there's a lot of stuff about what it means to be the figurehead of a movement and how you have to present yourself, and the Emperor obviously has to occupy that space, which is really interesting. And there's a lot of foreshadowing to things that we see between the Emperor and Vader later on in Return of the Jedi. And there's a lot of stuff calling back to what Anakin was as a child, and the Emperor is sort of testing him and trying to see what kind of relationship they have after he gets put in the suit and Padme's dead and everything. This is kind of the Emperor testing him and trying to see what kind of a relationship they're going to have. It's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
So I don't want to spoil too many things, so that's kind of all I'll say about it, but I will highly recommend this book. It's very well written. It moves at a very quick pace. It's not a novel that meanders. I'm reading Aftermath right now, and some of these Star Wars novels that fill in gaps, they kind of feel meandery because they don't really have a lot of story space to work with. You would think Aftermath would, but it has the total opposite problem as this. But this is just fantastic stuff. It's one of the best EU new canon things I think that's come out so far, if not the best that I've read. So wow. I highly recommend it.
That's high praise given what you said about the Tarkin novel.
And the Tarkin novel is really great too, and the Vader comic is wonderful as well, but I think this is an even better exploration of Vader's character than the comic book is. It's really good.
Oh, Dan, wait till you get to Vader Down, buddy.
Yeah, I'm really anticipating reading that.
Oh, that's good stuff. Especially the setup, that first issue. Oh my god, the art in that. Ugh,
yeah, I can't wait. I gotta read the second volume of that. I mean, maybe my opinion comparing it to this when I read more of the Vader comic will improve, but it's comparing one thing that's amazing to another thing that's amazing. I think I like this a little bit more.
We're doing so much Vader stuff right now in gap-filling stuff and finding ways to tell stories about him, and obviously he sells. How much more are we going to be able to do with that character before we get to a place where it's hard to keep it all canonical? I mean, I guess the EU probably had that problem real hard too, but I mean, like, there's just so much stuff right now. And I'm just like, how much could that guy possibly have done in the amount of time between when he became Vader and when we saw him in 4, and then between those two movies, and then when he died, because that's all you've got. You got between 4 and 5, and you have anything he did before 4, and that's about all you've got, because there's almost no time that happens between 5 and 6, so you can't really set anything there.
Right, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the Keeper of the Holocrons, as he's called at Lucasfilm, that keeps all the lore straight, will
is that still a thing?
The mistakes that were made with the past EU, where there was a lot of contradictory stuff that took stuff in and out of canon. I hope they keep everything straight this time.
I always thought that was so silly. As long as the Vader
stuff is good and it doesn't feel like it's overlapping and unnecessary, then keep it coming, because I love this stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, like, I'm putting the Vader comic over the Star Wars comic right now. Like, I think it's actually a more fun book to read. I'm not going to call it better as far as storytelling goes, because it's kind of telling the other side of the same story, so it's hard to, you know what I mean? Like, or at least at the beginning it is. I think they deviate a lot after that, but at first, that's what I love about those books, man, is that it's like, here's the good guys, here's the bad guys, they each act as the protagonists of their own things, and you don't have to walk around with the bad guys in the middle of the good guy story. We just split them up. I love that.
Right.
Make movies like that. I want to see movies made like that.
If you were to read this book, I think you'd really like it, because it sort of informs why the Emperor doesn't trust Vader so much in the first arc of that book. Obviously, there's a lot of distrust in the master-apprentice dynamic that the Sith Order is based on in the first place, but he also has ample evidence and reason as to why Vader isn't a guy that's all trustworthy. There's a lot of cool stuff.
It's fascinating to me that the books are being written so in sync with the comics, because I'd be surprised if that was true much before the reboot of the EU.
So.
Not that I know anything, but anyway, I think that is super, super cool. Dan, I'm glad that I did not recommend a Star Wars thing today. I almost went for a Star Wars thing, and then I thought, well, it's been 2 whole shows since you went Star Wars, so I'm not going to do that today, because otherwise it's going to be Star Wars everything, which is fine. But today I'm going to recommend something that I actually have not gotten a chance to play yet, Dan. How can you recommend it? Well, I looked through some of these and it looks like fun, so we'll look at some of it here right now. This is a card game, very simple, silly party card game. In somewhat of the somewhat reminiscent of something like Apples to Apples, or like Cards Against Humanity. That even has that same kind of black box as Cards Against Humanity. It just looks just like that, which I would imagine is why they made it that way, because they're trying to say, because that game is immensely popular. This is called Superfight. It's the game of absurd arguments. This is by Skybound Games. One of my brothers-in-laws gave me this for Christmas, because he's like, oh, Captain Logan, because everyone in my family calls me Captain Logan. Captain Logan likes superhero things, and so he must be one of those fanboys that's all about the who would win in a fight argument. I'm not, but it might make for a fun game. So what this is very super simple. You take a generic character with one of these white cards, Dan, and you put it with a trait, with a personality trait or something from these black cards, and you put those together, and now you have your character, and then you have to put that up against somebody else, puts those two things in, and then they have theirs, and then you argue about who would win in a fight, and then everybody that's with you votes, and you see who wins, and that's the game, apparently. So I thought it might be amusing, Dan, for us to look at a couple of these and see what the combinations are like. So we have, so we have a swarm of killer bees whose clothes are way too big. And they're going to go up, Dan, against Miley Cyrus. Because these games, I think, like to have a whole lot of like current references. They like with kids. Yeah, for the kids, Dan. Yeah, they bank real hard on that. Miley Cyrus with horrible self-esteem. So, Miley Cyrus.
I was say the same thing.
What do you think? I think the swarm of killer bees would probably win.
Yeah, I don't think Miley Cyrus is in a position to hurt very many things.
Well, unfortunately, her power-up was kind of, nothing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the bees, too. is low self-esteem a power-up for anything, really?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it could make you enraged enough, or like unpredictable enough that you might, like. It's really funny because do you remember my card game Cliffhangers? Have I ever told you about that game?
Yes, you have.
Yeah, this is a lot like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And I tried to get that published from game companies, and somebody took this, but not that. So I'm offended, and somewhat jealous. Anyway, okay, so we got Obama.
All right.
Obama. Oh, that's a blank card. So Obama. We have Obama on a Segway. Obama on a Segway.
What a deadly combination.
Yeah, right? Like, okay. You can't tell me Obama has never been on a Segway. You have Obama on a Segway against a gorilla. Okay, so immediately. Against a gorilla that controls magnetism.
Okay, so yeah, the gorilla definitely wins that one.
Yeah, well, geez, just no contest. Wow. Yeah. We can't see. I want to be on the side having an argument, trying to make the argument for Obama on a Segway in that fight. That's what would be fun about this is classic debate where you should lose, but if you've got the better argument, I feel like Steve Baxi could find a way to win that argument.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
A gorilla that controls magnetism, like you could just rip the Segway from Obama's feet in like a second and fight's over.
Yes, but you could, I don't know, you could be like, well, Obama has he's the leader of the free world, so he's got like the whole military behind him.
Oh, okay, so we're saying Obama and his resources, that's his power up?
I get maybe not. See, I can't win that argument, apparently. It's like, because I would love to see this argument. Steve Baxter's like, he's the commander-in-chief. Dan Dory says, he's the commander-in-chief in this context of a Segway.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do one more. We got a French bulldog.
Okay.
A French bulldog that throws 200-mile-per-hour fastballs.
That's deadly.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Okay, let's see if it gets a little more evenly matched this time. That would be great. Oh, the Terminator! Now it's getting interesting. The Terminator who can't stop laughing!
Oh, wow.
Wow. This is... Okay, now this one I feel like there's maybe an argument. There's potentially an argument. Because if you're the Terminator and you can't stop laughing... I feel like you're immediately quite compromised because that's someone who's generally doesn't have that problem and who's somewhat he's programmed and he doesn't really have emotions and stuff. So you could argue that he may have a difficult time doing much of anything.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know how laughter would affect the physical capabilities of a robot. I never thought about that before.
Yeah,
because when
sure.
people are bent over laughing, something so funny,
a hearty belly laugh, right? Yeah,
it's it has a physical effect on you where you can't really do anything else. But to a robot, I don't know how that would affect them.
Yeah, but of course he's
could they be like the Joker and just laughing hysterically and blow the heads off of things?
Yeah. That's true.
Potentially, but I don't know.
Yeah, because it's all about interpretation, right? Does can't stop laughing mean that it's a problem where he's stuck in a loop and he's got a programming malfunction, or is it a thing, or does it make him more deadly? It certainly could. And what kind of fastballs are being thrown? If we're just talking about baseballs. I'm not sure how much of an effect that would have on the Terminator. Even at 200 miles per hour, this is a guy that can bullets bounce off him. Or can you shoot bullets at the Terminator?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it would have very much of an effect at all.
Yeah, maybe not. Anyway, so that's what that game's like. I don't know. I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is cool.
It's super ultra silly. The problem is you have to have a whole party because you can't really play it with two people because then you're just arguing all night about Terminator versus a bulldog. But anyway, well, everybody, thanks always for watching, and we will recommend something for you once again next week. This is what I recommend, and that's what Dan recommends. And as often happens, this is one of those cases where that's a thing that I would very much like to get my hands on, and this is probably something you wouldn't mind having.
Yeah, exactly. I think we picked good things.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, good. Next time I'll endeavor to pick something awful. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you again next week. We'll recommend something for you once again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Dan.